pals. So before I move on, for the foreseeable you'll be seeing me in lots of different locations that are not in front of my bookshelves, and that is because a couple of weeks ago my bookshelves came crashing down. They were attached to the wall. When we attached them to the wall, by we I mean Johnny and his dad, the wall was a bit crumbly and they were like, it'll be fine. A year and a half later, getting in bed, then open a book, turn to the first page, really relaxed, just had a bath, sound like fucking thunder come through the house, and when I investigated I realised my whole bookshelves had ripped off the shelves, they're completely destroyed, all the books are fine, but mainly the cats were fine. It was a very traumatic few seconds where I thought that one of them was squashed to death underneath the said books and shelves, and it was horrific. So bad that I called Johnny up, even though I realised the cats were fine. I called Johnny up, who's around his sisters watching the Euro final. I couldn't care less about football. And he came home and missed the end because I was so upset and just like sitting crying with the cats on the floor because they were so scared. So yeah, that's what happened. So I'm going to be filming in this location and in my bedroom for a while. Apologies if like the lighting isn't as good or, you know, there's no books to look at, but it is what it is, and it's not going to be resolved anytime soon, to be completely honest. So today I thought what I would do is talk about some non-fiction books that are coming out this summer. So some have already come out and some are yet to come out that I'm really excited about. I think I have 11 books to talk about. It would be nice if it was around 10, but I went through this list a couple of times and couldn't find one that I wanted to remove. Most of these are memoirs, and there's a couple of collections of personal essays. I do read other non-fiction. My favourite type of non-fiction is memoirs and personal essays, and this year seems to be an absolute killer year for memoirs and personal essays. So very excited about these, and I'm on the lookout for where I can source these. Some of them are published in the UK and some in North America. So for the ones published in North America, I'm hoping I can try and listen to them via Script, which is an audiobook service I use. Not sponsored, but highly recommend, especially if you're based in other parts of the world but you would like to have access to audiobooks being published in North America. So let's crack on. So the first one I'm really excited about is Somebody's Daughter by Ashley C. Ford. I've actually managed to get this one from the library, so it's on hold, waiting for me to go pick it up. Very excited. If you've been around this channel for any length of time, you know one of my favourite things to see in a blurb, be it fiction or non-fiction, is coming of age focused on girlhood, and this is a memoir that's exploring those themes. So Ashley C. Ford grew up in Indiana to a single parent family because her father was in prison, and she gets to an age in her life where she's sort of questioning her family history, why her father was incarcerated, and she gets out of a very difficult relationship in which she's sexually assaulted by her partner, and around that time things about her family's history are revealed to her. And Saeed Jones, who wrote a memoir I absolutely adored, which is How We Fight for Our Lives, I'll link a video above where I spoke about 5 of my favourite memoirs in which I featured Saeed's book. He said about this book, Ashley C. Ford went deep into the well of herself and her history and came back to the light with the book now in your hands. A piercing interrogation of who we are and who we are to the people laying claim to us. Somebody's Daughter is hard-earned storytelling, yes, but also an opportunity for each of us to illuminate the ties that bind, entangle and connect us to one another. I think that's an absolutely phenomenal blurb. I'm so excited for this one. So obviously I have a couple more books on the theme of girlhood, one of which is actually called Girlhood, and that is by Melissa Febos. I haven't read any of her previous books and I'm not actually sure if I'm saying her surname correctly, so let me know if I didn't. And I think this sounds great. This is an essay collection, a collection of personal essays all about Melissa's experience of growing up as a girl, and specifically the rules she was told about what it means to be a girl and become a woman. And it says that this is a blend of memoir, scholarship and investigative reporting, which is something I love the sound of, and I'm always interested in any book, whether it is sort of straight scholarship, memoir, essays, all these things that look into expectations put on young girls and sort of the boxes that we are forced to inhabit, and sort of ripping those boxes apart. So this one sounds great. And then we have Rumours of Spring, A Girlhood in Kashmir by Farah Bashir. This one sounds really interesting, especially because it talks about a conflict that I know very little about. So it says that this book follows her unforgettable adolescence in the 1990s as Indian troops and militants battle across the cityscape and violence becomes the new normal. This deeply affecting coming-of-age memoir portrays how territorial conflict surreptitiously affects everyday lives in Kashmir. So I think this one sounds really intriguing. I think this could be a debut work by the author, which is always exciting, so I'll be trying to get my hands on this one as well. And then I have a couple of books that have links to food, which sounds really interesting. One I've heard loads of people writing about because this one came out in North America a month or so ago, I think, and then is coming out around now in the UK, and that is Crying in Hmart. So I'd never heard of Japanese breakfast, so I do definitely want to go and listen to their work, see if I enjoy them. But the author is from the band Japanese Breakfast, but this memoir specifically focuses on her relationship with her mother and the connection they had with food with one another, and how following the loss of her mother she found herself in the aisles of Hmart like crying because of this connection she had with her mother through food. And she explores that connection, specifically to do with Korean food, and yeah, sort of looks back on their relationship. And I always love books that examine relationships, particularly between children and their mothers. I've probably mentioned before that I really enjoyed the book What My Mother and I Don't Talk About, which is an essay collection edited by Michelle Filgate. I recommend it all the time. If you haven't already picked it up, you should, it's great. And so yeah, I'm interested in hearing sort of a full-length exploration of the relationship between a mother and a daughter. And this next one is also by a mixed-race Korean-American author, and it has a beautiful cover, and I really love the title as well, and it's Tastes Like War by Grace M. Chow. So this one is an exploration into the fact that Grace found out that her mother was suffering with schizophrenia, and that was something that wasn't really discussed in the family, and so she looks through sort of lots of accounts and looks back on lots of memories she has, particularly gained through conversations with her mother during cooking their family recipes, to sort of look back into that history and to try and understand her mother's schizophrenia. So yeah, I also think this one sounds really interesting. This next one I'll definitely be listening to on audio because I really enjoy listening. I'm rubbish with accents, like I'm one of those people who is really bad at identifying accents. If we're watching any programme on TV, particularly like English accents, so Johnny will be like, what city are they from? And I'm like, I have no idea, and I'm awful. But I'm also awful at doing accents, so if someone says I'll try and do like an Australian accent, I'm like, absolutely no way. So if somebody is from somewhere where they have an accent that I particularly like or am particularly bad at pronouncing, which is all of them, I quite like listening to them on audio. And this book is bought by a Northern Irish author, so I'm definitely going to pick this one up on audio. And that is The Troubles With Us, One Belfast Girl on Boys, Bombs and Finding Her Way. And this is about the fact that Alix grew up throughout the Troubles, and she grew up wanting to leave Belfast and to sort of start this other life. But it says this is obviously discussing the Troubles and how it affected her family, but also this is supposed to be quite humorous, which is something I don't read very often in memoirs, and it's something that I'm very much looking forward to with this book. This next one is one that I definitely want to read in the physical form because it says this one's quite visual. It includes like photocopies of documents and photographs, and that is The Natural Mother of the Child by Krys Belc. And this is a memoir of non-binary parenthood. So it says that Krys Belc had thought a lot about the interplay between parenthood and gender. As a non-binary trans masculine parent giving birth to his son Samson, which is a lovely name, clarified his gender identity, and yet when his partner Anna adopted Samson, the legal documents listed Belc as the natural mother of the child. And it says that Belc has created a new kind of life record, one that engages directly with the documentation often thought to constitute a record of one's life, childhood photos, birth certificates and addresses. His deep ambivalence about the before and after, so prevalent in trans stories, which feels apart from his own experience. I think this one sounds great, and I'm always on the lookout for more memoir type books that include sort of investigation and documents and photos, just because I find all that sort of thing really interesting. So this one sounds great, and I can't wait to pick up a copy. And then this next one I'm picking up solely because I've heard Hannah from the channel Let's Talk About Books Baby rave about this one. I highly recommend Hannah's channel if you enjoy the type of books that I tend to read. I think Hannah and I have quite a large crossover, so I definitely think you'll enjoy her channel, and she talks really eloquently about all the books she reads, so definitely go and check her out. I will link her down below in the cards above. So the book that Hannah has raved about is Small Bodies of Water by Mingya Powles, and I think this is a beautiful cover for one thing. This is a collection of essays that are focused on the idea of all the bodies of water in the author's life. I believe that she is a swimmer, and she's swum in lots of different places around the world. Now, I am an appallingly bad swimmer. I grew up in a seaside town, and my dad's side of the family are all super strong swimmers, to the point where like most of them are professional lifeguards, and I don't know what it was. Like, my two younger brothers were both really strong swimmers. I was taught at the same age they were, could just never get to grips with it. I had to have like private swimming lessons in like specifically like shallow pool because I would like freak out, and I'm still awful. Like, I haven't been in the water in I don't even know how many years, at least 10, and I don't even know if I could do doggy paddle at this point, but I still find it fascinating. So it says that the author first learned to swim in Borneo, where her mother was born and her grandfather studied freshwater fish, and there the local swimming pool became her first body of water. But she has swum in lots of places, from the wild coastline of New Zealand to a pond in northwest London. This lyrical collection of interconnected essays explores the body of water that separate and connect us, as well as everything from migration, food, family, earthquakes, and the ancient lunar solar calendar to butterflies. In powerful prose, Small Bodies of Water weaves together personal memories, dreams, and nature writing. It reflects on a girlhood spent growing up between two cultures, and explores what it means to belong. So yeah, I think this one sounds wonderful. This next one I'm also pretty sure I heard about on Hannah's channel, and that is My Broken Language by Quiara, Alegria, Hudes. And this one also has a brilliant cover and title, but I will say that actually for all of these books, I feel like memoirs seem to get really good covers and titles, so another reason to love them. So it says in the blurb, born in Philadelphia to a Jewish father and an enigmatic Puerto Rican mother, Quiara Alegria Hudes has a love and trouble-filled upbringing haunted by the unspoken, untold family secrets of the barrio. In the face of real-world wounds, the powerful Orisha-like woman of her family possessed a strength, joy and sensuality that left a young Quiara awestruck. She vowed to tell their stories. And it says that this is an exploration of like speaking two languages, both like sacred and profane. So I think she speaks both Spanish and English in the audiobook, which is something I'm looking forward to, and also I love the fact that this is exploring all the women in her family, so I think this one will be brilliant too. The penultimate book is Seeing Ghosts by Chow. Chow is a Chinese American author, and this focuses on an exploration of like death and grief. Her mother made a joke to her once. She said, "When I die, I want to be stuffed and displayed in your apartment so I can always watch over you." And when her mother did then die, the family really struggled with how to cope with that. And it says, I think this sounds really beautiful, after her mother dies unexpectedly from cancer, Kat, her sisters and their father are plunged into a debilitating, lonely grief. With this distinct voice that is wry and heartfelt, Kat weaves together a story of the fallout of grief that follows her extended family as they emigrate from China and Hong Kong to Cuba and America. Seeing Ghosts asks what it means to reclaim and tell your family's story. Is writing an exorcism, or is it its own form of preservation? The result is an extraordinary contribution to the literature of the American family, and a provocative and transformative meditation on who we become facing loss. So again, this is another book that is looking at family history, but this one through the lens of death and grief. So very much intrigued by this one. And then lastly, a book that I'm sure we'll hear lots of people on BookTube talking about because this author is very loved here on BookTube, is Dear Senthuran by Akwaeke Emezi. I haven't read Akwaeke Emezi's previous books, although I would really like to, and I'm like super behind on that. But this is a memoir, and I think I will start here if it feels as good a place as any to me, particularly because I love memoirs. So I have this on audio as well. Sorry, I forgot to say that the subtitle is A Black Spirit Memoir, and I'm going to read you a bit of the blurb of this one as well, because I just don't think I can do anywhere near as good a job of explaining what this is compared to this blurb. It says, in letters addressed to their friends, to members of their family, both biological and chosen, and to fellow storytellers, Akwaeke describes the shape of a life lived in overlapping realities. Through heartbreak, chronic pain, intimacy with death, becoming a beast, This is an embodiment, as a non-human, outside the boundaries imposed by expectations and legibility. This book is an account of the grueling work of realignment and remaking necessary to carve out a future for oneself. The result is a black spirit memoir, a powerful, raw unfolding of reality. And the author does narrate this themselves, which I always love. So, like I said, I'm sure lots of us will be either reading or listening to this one. So those are the 11 memoir personal essay collections that have just come out or are about to come out. So it's a great summer for lovers of the memoir and personal essays. So if you're nosy, or probably more nice to say inquisitive, then you should definitely give some of these a go, because I think they sound amazing. If you have read or listened to any of these yet, then let me know down below what you thought of them. And also I'd love to know if you have these ones on your list and if you're planning to pick them up. And obviously if I've missed any that you think should be on my list, let me know. I can never have enough memoir recommendations, and I always need more like essay collection recommendations, so again, leave those down below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!